Hey guys, how we doing? Back to working on the Farmall. The weight situation seems to be pretty good, and he will run the tractor and we'll adjust accordingly after that. But again, that's kind of how you have to, kind of like drag racing. You gotta try some stuff and see what the outcome is, and then make some tweaks from there. You do too much stuff, you don't know what made an improvement and what went the other way. So we're gonna leave that stuff as is. I bumped up the tire pressure to about 9. He had them at 5. You can always air it back down, but I want to see how it's gonna do with the greater amount of weight added to it. The center is fine. It shouldn't need any gussets. Someone commented about adding gussets to it, but I really don't think that's gonna go anywhere. So now we're off to dealing with a couple of things. One, the steering column leaks. So I went and I kind of scribed some of the paint off around it and measured it with a caliper, but did not come up in my stash with one that will suffice to replace that. So there was 2 leaks in this truck that are going to need to be addressed, that being one of them. And I believe it's between the, I believe it's at the trans is leaking, not the front but the rear, and that has to be, so we have to split the tractor at some point and address that. So I may have him see if he can chase and order some replacement seals for them instead of me trying to pull that out of there, maybe not seeing it for a week or 2 and having the tractor all taken apart. So we're gonna leave that pretty much well enough alone. So I jumped over to the run condition. The run condition, the problem he was having was he would go start pulling the sled and the tractor would bog and recover, but it didn't seem like it wasn't bogging due to the load of the sled. It just seemed like the tractor wasn't getting full throttle, and then it would nail itself full throttle and bounce right back again. So I started without you guys. I started looking into the governor, but then I also came over here and I was picking on the throttle. This is the governor. This is coming from the governor, the rod coming from the governor, and this is the throttle linkage. And what I had found was at full throttle, it wouldn't want to go into full throttle. It would bind when it did that. So I started bending on the rod and trying to get it where that would go away, wouldn't pinch. But then I lost it on the idle side. It would not return back down to idle. So I don't know if the rod is just too tight on the knuckle nuts on the back of the carburetor, and I also don't know the shape of how clean the carburetor is inside, because I was trying to adjust the air fuel mix and I wasn't getting much of a difference in it. So I figured we can pull the carb, clean it. We could also look at the backside where the linkage is. So I'm gonna get that off of there and we'll see what we got to go work with. All right, so that's a nice simple carburetor to get off of there. Basically 2 bolts and 2 pins, and it's out of the way. But it looks like someone's been here ahead of me. Here's the rod that's behind there, and the engine block is right alongside that. So this is like skimming the side of the block, and you can see a bend right there. If I shot you the camera that way, you'd see another one in it. But what it's kind of doing, it looks like this is towards the idle spot of it. You can kind of see how close it is to the hitting the boss of the bowl of the carburetor. Actually interferes with it, because it's kind of stopping right there, depending where the rod is, stops there, and then you grab it and you got to kind of tug past that location right there. So this looks like it's new. Someone's replaced the throttle shaft, and you see it's got a bunch of tweaking on it. You guys see it's bent like in, it's bent on an angle. So it's had some manipulation done to it. Whether that's supposed to be like that or someone's just kind of yanked on it and twisted and fondled it, it's probably to try maybe to relieve the problem that it has right now. You actually see, looks like rub marks right there, was rubbing on the motor. So I think probably my best bet is going to be to, maybe we'll take the rod out of there, we'll try and straighten everything up back to straight, and then we'll see how it kind of performs from there. You can see the rod bent that way too. So it's just had a bunch of a little too much fondling, I think, in its lifetime. and see if we can go correct that. Before I do that though, I want to go pull that bowl off of there. Let's see if we can do this with the camera still rolling. Let's see if we can crack it open. I have a feeling it's probably going to be pretty clean. As it bleeds its fuel out of it. Be kind of foolish not to pull it apart. It's already off. No smoking. You, put out your cigarette. See if that'll come off of there. Looks pretty clean. I don't see anything ordinary. We're gonna go and I'll blow those jets out and everything anyway. We'll see how that kind of makes out. Alright, so I blew that out and I kind of hammered the rod pretty straight. It's got still a little bit of a bow here to take out, but it seems like it's pretty tight on that knuckle right there. So I think I'm gonna go pull the pin out and take some material off of the inside of here, and then I'm gonna shorten this rod up closer to the cotter key and make it so that it has more room around the ball. I just think the window in here was just too tight on both sides, causing it to hit, because like right now you could hit the rod to right there, and you can see I'm turning the carburetor nets. You know, the clevis is probably right about here. That's causing a bind. So I think that's the issue. Also, one of our local scrappers just stopped by, and before we went to the scrapyard, wanted to know if I wanted some stuff. And there's some more outside, but these three guys, little sweeps. That one's upside down. The color's the same. It's about an inch and a half of little fine hairs. So I figured for my garage, these things kind of suck. In the wintertime, they kind of fail. So I figure I can cut them up, and we'll use that for the what touches the door. That's why I'm a hoarder. Alright, back to the carburetor. You can see that little black magic marker. This is the area we kind of need to relieve just a little bit. I'm trying to do it so you guys can see it. Guys, where you see it, the glasses? That's what we need. Still ain't great. I might take a file to the inside of it and kind of angle. Take a file and work it and angle it this way to try to make it so the rod can go past 90 degrees there. See how that does for us. I filed it, but I want to give it a little reamer action. All right, so it's that way. That way and facing forward, so it's that edge. Judge how long before the compressor kicks in. And we're past the that's that part of it. So now we got to shorten the, I'm going to knock some of this off closer to the key and keep it from rubbing on the inside. I might even actually take a little bit off the housing too where it hits. There we go, that back together. Well, it looks like it should be just fine. There's some butter going through it now. That notch helped a lot. That relief. I think that was most of the issue. And can't get it. I can get it to touch the bowl, but I don't think it's going to have any problem with drag in that direction. So I think the best test would be for us to put this sucker back on and see how she functions. What do you think? All right, we got all that back together, and that feels much better. You definitely hit both ends of the stop without any kind of binding on it. Now I'm going to turn the gas on. We'll go fill up the float bowl, and now we'll see how she likes to go run after that. Let's go fire it up. Might want to turn the gas on. That might help. The only thing is I'm not getting any response out of that air fuel mix still. It probably could use a carb kit. Also, the gasket that's in here is no good. It does not reach all the way to the end of the bowl. I don't think that's the cause of it, but I think this carb should probably stand to have a good soaking or boiling over, and see if that can recover and also get a better gasket. I have a feeling if you lean the carb probably far enough one direction that that's going to be a leak, because the float bowl's open to the atmosphere. So I think we'll put that on the list for some other stuff for him to go chase, but that seems like it should do pretty good. I'm going to do a little test run up and down the driveway and we'll see how she functions. Kind of like dumping the clutch and see if she wants to go flutter or anything. Alright, let's give this what for. Don't know if we need choke or not. Go for fourth gear. That might have been a little too much, huh? Well, that still seems a little weird. I would think that it would want to idle right at this point instead of having to drop it down to here and then bring it back up to it. But again, that carb not having that adjustment. So I don't know. We're gonna let it. Again, this is gonna come back. So we're gonna let him run it like this. See if it's an improvement to him. See how if he notices anything different, and we'll take it from there. And if not, we'll possibly jump into the governor. Maybe some slop and slack inside there. But again, like I said last time, the meter's running, so you know, if it was mine, I'd maybe play with it a little bit. But you know, it's just at the cost of my time, or somebody else, it's not. So let's probably wrap this one up. And call this a little shorty, I guess. But again, thanks everybody for watching, commenting, subscribing. Take care.